Today's guest is Celia Kibler, who is a best-selling author, speaker, family empowerment coach, and the host of the Pumped Up Parenting podcast, in addition to being the founder of the Pumped Up Parenting, Funfit Family Fitness, and also the International Day of Calm, which happens yearly on April the 5th. Cecilia, thank you very much for being on. How are you doing today?
Thank you, Jessica. I'm so happy to be here with you, and I appreciate you having me. I'm doing great, always doing great, always happy to open my eyes for another day, and working hard on helping parents. I'm on a mission to help 1 million parents stop yelling at their kids, and I'm almost there. And working on the International Day of Calm that you mentioned, that's happening on April 5th. So we're, gearing up for another year.
Love it. Love it. Well, why don't you tell us a little bit more about that? Because, I always love April because my birthday's in April. So I'm like, okay, it's a perfect day for you to create a day of calm. So yeah, I'd love for you to just share, how did you get to doing what you're doing? What's all that about? Floor is yours for that.
So quick summary. My dad was a yeller, which kind of put me on this mission. I've always been interested in helping kids and families, and the best way to help the health and wellness of children is to help their parents. Started Funfit Family Fitness, a kids fitness company, a family fitness company back in 1987. Went through decades of working with parents and kids and really saw how parenting had changed over the years. And people were coming to me and asking me for help all the time. I've raised 5 children in a blended family. I have 9 grandchildren, and I decided I can help people. So I kind of shifted from FunFit, even though that's still around, into Pumped Up Parenting and started becoming a family empowerment coach and a relationship coach. And now I work almost full time doing my coaching and counseling, group, private, for parents and families. And that led to me deciding that I shouldn't just stop 1 million parents from yelling at their kids. Let's stop everybody in the world and get them all to just calm down. And it really came to be when there was a lot of division happening, a lot of people judging, criticizing, ridiculing, taking friends that they've had for 20 years and blocking them because they didn't agree with them. And I thought, we need a day when we all really learn how to take control of ourselves, understand that we're in control of us, even though we're not in control of other people. We need to stop judging and criticizing others. We need to start learning, opening our hearts and our minds and educating ourselves so that there's more acceptance and calm communication between people, and also help parents so that we can start raising generations to come that are not in this aggressive, divisive mode. And so I came up with the International Day of Calm. It is on April 5th because in the year 2020, on April 5th, that's when my father passed away. He was the yeller in the family, although a wonderful man. But pretty much the definition of why you shouldn't yell at your kids, because he did all these things for mankind and always felt he was so mediocre. So I kind of created the Day of Calm in his honor. And we will be having a summit the 5th, 6th, and 7th with free classes from speakers around the world that will help you de-stress your life and calm your soul.
Love it. Love it on so many levels because of the mission itself is so huge and so powerful and so needed. And yet, even in the micro, it's the exact same thing. Like to have like, and again, like I grew up with yelling parents as well, so like I 100% can relate to that as well. Um, and just knowing even like in my own work how much ripple effects our parents actually have on us is like such a beautiful mission from all sides. So number one, and just before we go on, I just wanted to acknowledge and commend and celebrate that and how beautiful it is. And certainly if you want to add something to that, floor is yours.
Thank you. Thank you. I really appreciate it. The only thing I will add is we're also this year We've taken on a new initiative called Rescue a School, and we are building permanent buildings for a school in West Uganda, one that I work with personally. I do teaching with their school virtually with their students. And right now they are in such horrible buildings. And the gentleman that started this school, it's just wonderful, wonderful purpose to help these kids that normally wouldn't be going to school because the closest school is 2 hours away. A lot of them don't have shoes. A lot of them affected by AIDS, given for early marriage to raise money because they don't have money. And he created this wonderful school, and he needs buildings. He needs buildings that don't leak and don't have jiggers and the muddy floors. And so we are working to rescue his school and build buildings. And all the information is at dayofcalm.org. Dayofcalm.org. You can pledge the day and promise to be calm. There's lots of projects there that you can initiate for your family, for your community. And you can also learn all about the brilliant primary school in West Uganda.
Love it. That's beautiful. So yeah, I mean, in that case, you do so much to support others. How can I best support you today?
Well, because the reason you can't, the reason you shouldn't yell at your kids is because all those little voices that hang out in your brain, the voices that say you're not good enough, the voices that say, that make you second guess yourself all the time, the voices that don't give you the confidence to speak up when somebody goes, so where do you want to go for dinner? And you go, well, I'll go anywhere. When you really want, a pizza, and you don't speak up because you're afraid of being judged or criticized. All those voices that so many of us have in our heads were planted there when we were children. And especially if you were raised by someone who yelled constantly and you lived in an aggressive environment, that's growing up feeling like you're the bad kid, you're not worthy, all of those things. And I personally, it took me a long time to feel like I was worthy of success, love. And I always felt like I was stupid, probably up until maybe 15 years ago. I always felt I was stupidest in the family because I was surrounded by geniuses, and I was not a genius. So therefore, I must be stupid. But then I discovered that, brilliance doesn't always come from a book. But it's a lot of the self-worth is still there to a point. Am I worthy of success? All these things. I have had huge success in my life. I'm grateful for it, but I still have a lot of self-doubt, and people are surprised when they hear that from me. But that self-doubt, that second guessing yourself, it's a hard one to get over.
100%. It's like I always call it like it's the core wounding, like I'm not good enough. And then it just wears all these other masks, right? Like it wears the mask of imposter syndrome. It wears the mask of your inner critic. It wears the mask of procrastination, right? So yeah, I 110% agree with you for that. So, I mean, it's quite obvious you're very self-aware, right? You know these patterns, you witness them in your own work with other people. So if you were your own coach, how would you coach yourself?
I laugh because my daughter's always saying, what would you tell your clients, Mom?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Why are you doing this? And I wish I could remember what she just said that in response to. And I go, I know, I have to take my own medicine, And so often when you're in this field of work, we don't. We are really good at knowing the answers and telling people what to do and giving them the confidence to do it. And when it comes to us, we're like, okay, well, maybe I don't have to do that. We
Yep.
chicken out or whatever it is. And, I would, of course, tell my client self that I am, of course, worthy. I'm, of course, worthy of success, and that, everything that I've succeeded at so far builds my confidence. It lets me know that I am smart. I mean, I wrote the manual for parents. Parents didn't have a manual, so I wrote one so that they now have a manual they can look up, Raising Happy Toddlers. And I have all these examples of clients that have success with what I do. But once in a while, I think it gets down. I think where I feel like I'm weak at is really in like the marketing of things. I feel like getting the word out there, getting it out there, getting the news out there. I do a lot. I have a podcast. I go live regularly. I'm on all social platforms. If you Google me, I'm like the first 6 pages of Google, simply because I'm old and I've been around for a long time. So you're going to find me. And yet I think I could do a better job really letting people know I exist.
Okay. So would you say that this is more of a visibility block, or is it still an I'm not good enough block?
That's a good question. I love this dive deep stuff. It's I think it may be a little bit of both. It may be somewhat that I absolutely am confident in my qualifications. I have no doubt I can take any parent and give them the tools they need to create a cooperative, respectful, fun, happy home without yelling. I can do that. I have confidence in myself and my abilities 1,000%. What is it? I think I don't know.
Okay. So to just kind of
Is
ask
that
it
a
a
fair
different
answer?
way. No, that's okay. Listen, whatever is present, and I'm cool to dive into that. So all of you is welcome, and yeah, no issues on my end. So you have 1,000% confidence in your competence technically,
Correct.
but to be seen to that same degree elicits what?
I think it is more of like, I don't mind doing live broadcasts. I've been broadcasting live since 2016. I feel comfortable at it. I was terrible at it at the beginning, as I'm sure we all are. People see my personality. People like me. I don't feel like there's any of that visibility blockage. I feel like I don't know if I'm doing enough, or if I'm doing the right things, or if I'm taking advantage of things that are out there that I'm not taking advantage of. It's kind of like Department of Redundancy department. But I think it's more like I do a lot of things. Am I doing the right things at the right time? And sometimes I will know that I'm supposed to be doing something, and it's a long day and I don't do it. And some of it is my own. Now I'm trying to really adopt a do one more thing every day mentality. I haven't perfected that yet. Some days I'm good at it. Some days I'm not. So some days I just want to sit on the couch and watch TV. So
Okay, got it. And that's fair. I mean, I would say that's probably another thing we could potentially dive into. But sticking to the visibility one, out of curiosity, then, if you were witnessed in your grandest self and vision, like as big as you could imagine yourself to be, what comes up for you internally?
I would love to be a speaker. I would love to do more events. I do some virtual events. I've done talks at schools, but I would love to impact more people by, being a speaker to large groups.
Okay. And if you were that kind of speaker and had that kind of audience, and you didn't do all of the right things, then fill in the blank.
I would be okay. I'm not really hard on myself for mistakes. And my biggest problem is I talk a lot and I usually go different places. So I have to like tone, make sure I like stay on an outline. Um, I'm not, I'm very accepting of mistakes, failures. I've been an entrepreneur for 40 years now. So I know the ups and downs of business and life. I think it's more, being a speaker is probably more, if I actually stood up on a stage and did it, and it wasn't virtually. There's something different about sitting in my chair and
Mhm.
doing a speech or a training virtually. That's like nothing. But to walk out on a big stage with a whole bunch of people looking at you, I feel like the anxiety of that, the anxiousness of that may kick in. And then I might go into like nervous mode.
Okay. So there's a public speaking aspect to it as
Right.
well. Okay.
Which I
So,
want to do,
right.
mind you, but
So that's fine. So I'm just kind of trying to piece the pieces together here,
it's a
right?
puzzle, isn't it?
100%. And that's what they always are. So that's fine.
And
So,
I think part of the public speaking thing too is, there again, am I good enough to do that?
okay.
So there's a little self-doubt in that. Am I good enough to stand up on stage in front of people? My subconscious brain probably tells me yes. My conscious brain, the one that I hear the little voices in, or is that the subconscious brain? I'm not sure.
Hmm.
Like, can I keep it together long enough to do a whole speech and not seem like a nervous wreck?
Right. So is because like earlier you were like, okay, well, I'm 1,000% confident in my
And I am.
competence. So obviously you could speak to that as well. So this isn't a matter of I don't know how to speak about my material,
Correct.
right? It's ultimately about the perception, the judgment of the audience.
Right. I want to do the best I can. And I know people like to hear me speak. I've been told by some of the best that I'm a great speaker. So I know I've heard from people that say I speak well, but in my own little mind, do I believe it?
Right. Because it's hard to actually accept all of your accolades and how good you actually are when your whole life you've grown up in a family of geniuses, and no matter what your hardest and biggest achievements were, they always pale in comparison to what's around you.
Exactly.
Right. So what comes up when I reflect that back?
Just that I think I I think to a point, because I have this comparison of all these geniuses in my family. I think my smarts not being book smarts cause me to doubt, even though I know my methods and my knowledge is great. It's funny because I was asked to do a training in a college in India. And I did a training, and a lot, other than the students, there were 5 professors there. They were all doctors. And they loved it. And I got such great feedback. And I have to tell you, I was like shocked. I'm like, oh my gosh, there are like real people here with real like doctorate degrees, And I'm like, oh, I hope they don't think I'm like a 3-year-old, giving us, and they loved it. So I think because of that, that self-doubt, that, I'm the stupid one. It still comes in, it's amazing. It's a long living, lifelong
Okay. Yeah,
commitment.
100%. Right. So in this instance, then, right, like potentially the belief is I'm the stupid one. So no matter what you do, you're always going to be the stupid one. So just for the sake of curiosity, then, and it could be that, it could be something else. Like, what would you have to believe to continue to react this way?
To believe that I wasn't the stupid one, or to believe that I am the stupid
To
one?
to like, what would you have to believe about yourself to have the reaction that you just finished this speech and these doctors are coming to you and you're like, I think you guys have the wrong person. Like, I hope they don't. You know what I mean? Like what would you have to believe about yourself to have that reaction?
I I think it comes down to also me not believing I'm good enough. And when they came to me and they were like, one of the best talks we've ever had, and they loved it, and the woman who runs the college now follows me all the time. She's always, like, this was such great information and stuff like that. It surprises me. But then I think, well, maybe I'm just plain wrong about myself.
Okay.
And I do have these smarts. I mean, I wrote a book. I wrote a whole manual. Like, it's not even just a little, 50-page book's a 300-page manual for parents. And it works. And it's constantly, that little self-doubt that comes in.
So put a different way, it's maybe more specific that I'm not good enough in a general sense, but it's kind of like I'm not good enough to be smart. I'm not good enough to be considered smart. I'm not good enough to be considered an expert.
That is it.
Okay. So what lands for you in your body when I reflect that?
Sadness.
Mm-hmm. 100%. Because there's so much evidence that it's the exact opposite, yet this block doesn't allow you to actually accept it.
Mm-hmm.
And what's going on internally for you as I reflect that?
I think of the time I realized that I also didn't feel worthy. I was listening to someone. I can't think who it was at the moment. And I was listening to their brain trainings, and they mentioned being worthy, and all of a sudden it was like a light bulb went in my head, and I started crying, and I'm like, that's it. I don't feel worthy of it. I don't feel worthy. And I think between the worthiness and the opinion that I've always had for life about my intellectual property, I think that's that's the block.
Yep. And define it. I don't feel worthy of it. What is it for you?
It Intelligence.
Okay. I don't feel
And
worthy of being smart
I
with
don't feel
intelligence.
worthy of, I guess I don't feel worthy of success.
Okay. And what about success is unworthy to you?
In being the go-to person, being the person that people feel like they're that's the person I need to talk to. And just reaching a part of my life where I am professionally successful, financially successful, and those things just kind of melt together.
So right now, it doesn't feel like you're worthy of all those being combined together.
Nope.
No. Okay. And what would have to happen for you to feel worthy?
Good question. I don't know. I would have to, I guess I would have to realize that all this stuff that I've done in the 40 years has led me to this point in my life.
Mm-hmm.
And I have a right to it all. I worked hard for it all. And it is my intelligence and my wisdom and my uncanny ability to know children and to know the best ways to parent them that have brought me here. And I have to realize that I did this. And in order for me to do this, it's an accomplishment and I must be worthy of it because I did do it. Nobody else did it.
Right.
I did
And I
it.
know you intellectually understand all of that, but nobody gave you
Sounded
the
good,
right
didn't it?
to actually be worthy of it.
Right.
So let that sink in. Right. We started this whole conversation with you telling me, and this actually might have been off air. Um, I went on a like Steve Sims podcast where I was like coached on like the tactical side of like launching, my day of calm. And really I was just looking for permission to do that. But what if you're looking for permission to be worthy of success? Because your wording around it was, I don't have the right. Okay, whose right do you need?
I guess my own.
Well, if it was your own, you would have given it to yourself a long time ago.
I don't see, so emotional.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're like, we've reached it. Emotion. I think part of it is, and this is hard to admit, I want to know that my kids are proud of me.
Yeah.
I think I want my kids proud.
And that's a beautiful, beautiful reflection back because it's getting to the core of what a lot of this also comes back to. So, I wanted to acknowledge you for allowing yourself to go there and allowing yourself to be witnessed to go there. And B, right, I can also understand how important that is to you, given your work is about children, right? So I think there's also a part of you there that's like, I don't want to pass down the same pattern. So if they are the ones that see me in this, then I have accomplished what I needed to accomplish, right? To kind of close this loop. So I can see the different layers of it. Um, so I thank you for that. And 3, also just to remind you, at the end of the day, all of you is welcome here. And you're not the first or the last one to shed tears on the podcast. So just know that you are in good company on that. Okay. So what lands for you there?
It's it's funny because making my kids proud is a really huge part of it. I don't say it. I don't want them to feel like I don't think they're not proud of me. But I feel like I want, I guess, them to know that, I work hard, I'm credible. Like people, they listen to me, there's more to me than just I'm their mom and their fun mom, I'm, fairly goofy.
It's all good. Perfect. So if we were to just zoom out a little bit right? Like I think this is pretty clear kind of where the head trash is sort of gravitating to. If you zoom out and look at this more globally, what kind of problems is this creating inside of your business?
It may be what stops me from going a step farther
Okay.
and what limits me to my comfort zone. I'm a very, even though I have 3 businesses, I'm a very comfort zone type of person. And I think it's part of what keeps me from just really stepping out and going all in on this.
Okay. So if you had
And
to get
my
more
all in is a
specific,
lot more than what I've already done.
yeah, that's fair, right? So if you had to get more specific, like what does that actually mean? It stops me from going a step further. It stops me from going all in, keeps me within my comfort zone. So if you had to take that a step further, like that's great, but how is that actually a problem? What does that actually look like day to day?
I think I tend to, at the end of the day, I think it causes me to procrastinate, and procrastination always delays progress.
Mhm.
And I make excuses, I'm tired, or, when I should be doing something else. And I make excuses and I justify that. I don't know. Um, I don't know if that's directly related or not, but that's what happens.
Mhm. And if you think about how you show up in the spaces you do show up, right? Because we kind of started this whole thing saying, well, is this I'm not good enough, or is it visibility? You're kind of, well, it's kind of both. So, right, am I doing enough? Am I doing the right things? So if you consider everything that came up today, as far as all of these overarching, I'm not smart enough, I'm not good enough, I'm not worthy of success, how do you think that affects how you show up publicly?
I think it affects when I show up publicly, I show up. I don't feel like I slack off. I don't feel like I don't put my best forward. I absolutely do. I think it affects the amount of what I'm doing.
Mm.
It limits me from doing that much more. Um, Showing up in different ways, if that makes sense. I don't
So the way that I'm understanding that is like the volume and the places where you could be, and kind of like how omnipresent you could be, whether that's like you actually going and doing the things or just like it's distributed out to many more areas or whatever, that gets limited.
right.
Okay, perfect. So if you take that a step further, how do you think that affects the big mission that you started this whole conversation with?
Gonna take a lot longer to reach it. Although, I've gotten close through various media.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to it takes it delays the progress.
Yeah. So from the outside looking in, like what I'm hearing is like your capacity to hold how worthy you are of success is the limiter to how big and fast the message and the impact is actually created. Like, does that resonate with you or no?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So anything else as far as what you see these head trash pieces are creating problems within your business?
No, I think that pretty much dives into it. I think that's the that's the majority of my head trash.
Perfect. So if we now flip that, who or what would you be if you were completely and unapologetically worthy of success?
I would be the go-to person that is known for helping parents stop yelling at their kids
Okay.
and bringing that responsibility to the world.
So for the sake of inviting you to go further, I would say you already are that person. Maybe you're just not as big or as loud in that. But I want you to really tune into yourself, right? Like, I'm not worthy of success is essentially something you've carried with you for life. Who would you be if that limit didn't exist within you? Like, you lost the ability to think the thought, I'm not worthy of success. Who would you be? How would you show up?
Think I would be involved in a lot more activities. I would be more of a go-getter. I would be reaching out to all kinds of people to get connected and get my message out there. And I think it would have happened sooner than later. I wouldn't be sitting here at 65 years old trying to do all this. It would have happened years before.
Right. So going back to the whole delaying
Right.
of the vision, etc. So what about your own inner experience? So this is essentially what I would create without these limits, right? I'd have more networking, I'd do more activities, I'd be the go-to person. This would all be bigger. Absolutely makes sense. How about your inner experience? How would that change if you lost the ability to not think that you're unworthy of success?
I would be happy with whatever came. I would be content. I would be encouraged. And I wouldn't be trying to prove myself all the time to others.
Okay. And what's left beyond that void? So if you're not trying to prove, what are you actually embodying?
My own acceptance.
Yeah.
That I accept myself.
And what would that be like?
It would be great because I'd be happy with who I am.
Mm-hmm.
And
So,
not thinking about who I'm not or what I'm not doing.
right. So not in that gap so much. Okay. So just for the sake of trying this on, what if you allowed yourself to embody that right now? Like just as an experiment, like really consider I've lost the ability to think I'm not good enough to be smart. I lost the ability to think I'm not worthy of success. What would full acceptance of yourself actually feel like in your body right now?
It would feel energizing.
Okay. So can you
It
allow
would
yourself to
feel,
experience that energy?
yep, makes me smile.
Okay, that's good. Anything else?
It actually, makes me feel excited with it. Like there's energy flowing in
Mm-hmm.
my body right now.
So why don't you take another moment? Just really roll with that. Like let that really fill you in. Because I feel like the other conversation really deflated you. So allow yourself to inflate with the very real possibility that there exists a you beyond these limits of worthiness. So as you begin to embody that, what's coming up for you?
I'm ready to get to work.
Suddenly there's no procrastination, right?
Something, right? I'm like
Yeah.
ready to start going. I'm like, okay, I've got to get this done and this done and this
Right.
done.
So to just reflect that back to you from the outside looking in, without the friction of these beliefs, you're allowing the vision and the energy of that vision, which is so beautiful and so bold and so big, to pull you into it, as opposed to I have to push myself past the friction of these beliefs to get myself moving. Right? It's like for you, the fastest path forward isn't to ask yourself, well, how can I like work harder and better and procrastinate less and do one more thing? It's instead, how do I take the backpack of drama and baggage off and remove the friction under me so that I can just move faster? So what lands for you there?
Everything you said. And just I don't need to be addressing that. I don't need to be thinking of that. I don't need to second guess myself. I just need to take action and do it. And just like every step of the way is going to go, it's gone this far. It'll keep going and it'll just go a little faster. And I
Correct.
won't doubt what I'm doing.
Right. And right, like using your words now, without these limits, I'd be more content. I'd be more encouraged. I wouldn't have to prove anything. I'd accept myself fully. I'd be operating from being fully happy with who I am. Right. That's a beautiful space to create this mission instead of creating it to prove that you are all those things. Beautiful. So I know this was a lot. Maybe it was different than you expected it to
It was
be.
great.
Yeah, that's fair. Thank you. So yeah, if as far as like mapping this out, like if this feels complete for you, is there still something left outstanding?
No, I feel like it feels pretty complete.
Okay, perfect. So why don't you then just close us off with, let everybody know where to find you, who's the best person to find you. Floor is yours for that.
Okay. So now that I've been healed, see, we all go through our stuff. And this is
We
why
all
you need
do.
to stop yelling at your children.
Yep.
We all have stuff. And I thank you, Drasco, for that session. It was really eye-opening and heart-opening and energizing. To reach out to me, absolutely the best place to find me is to go to pumpedupparenting.com. I am on all social networks. Follow me on Instagram and Facebook and TikTok, even TikTok. I'm not so good at TikTok, but we're working on it. And all social networks, basically. To get my books, you can go to celiasbooks.com. Those are direct links to Amazon. If you're tired and you're frustrated with parenting, get a manual. It will really help. Or just reach out to me. That's what I'm here for. If you're sick of yelling at your kids, you feel like a bad parent, I guarantee you they're sick of you yelling at them. So change now than later. Don't wait. Don't wait till you're 65 like me. Take action.
Love it. Well, thank you for all of that. Thank you for allowing us and yourself to be witnessed in this way. As always, we'll include all that in the show notes. Celia, thank you very much for coming on. And for everybody else listening, we'll see you on the next one.
Drasco, it was a pleasure.